kids are involved in sports activities in school, it's important to make sure they're not getting burnt out. To talk about this issue this morning is Dr. David Bernhardt, a pediatric sports medicine physician with UW Help Kids in Madison. Dr. Bernhardt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could just start by just briefly describing what burnout is among young athletes.
So burnout is pretty similar to the burnout that you think about for some of us in the adult workplace. It's a response to continued physical and mental stress from playing sports probably year-round, but in some people not necessarily year-round, but the intensity is too much for them.
Right, and what are some ways that parents might be able to tell that their children are suffering from burnout, even if the athletes might not want to admit it?
Right. So similar, think about the people in the workplace. Think about kids playing sports. Initially, you might feel stale. You might have decreased motivation in terms of wanting to go to work, or in this case, practice. Physical and mental fatigue, apathy, where they don't really care about the sport anymore. Their performance might be going down. Sense of accomplishment in terms of what you do at work, sense of accomplishment, what you do in sport, decrease. And eventually, it can lead to the kid wanting to quit the sport altogether.
Sure, and so what can be done by parents or the children themselves to prevent burnout?
So I think it's got to be sort of a multifactorial approach. One is coaches allowing the kids to have variable training in terms of intense practices and less intense practices, so they have time to recover both physically and mentally. Um, Similar to those of us who feel overworked, you have to have some work-life balance. In this case, sport-life balance. Sport can't consume the athlete, and the athlete can't only identify themselves as an athlete. So they have to have other interests. I think that would help. And then they have to have an adequate support network and not necessarily feel pressure all the time from their coaches and their parents in terms of desire for the athlete to succeed. It's got to be somewhat self-driven, but at the same time, the coaches and parents have to have realistic expectations for the athlete. And then the final thing is to give them time away from the sport rather than having them participate in the same sport year-round. Allow them to play different sports so they have some variability in terms of their physical training and mental training and different people that they're playing with.
All important advice for parents and for student athletes alike. Dr. Bernhardt, again, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks again for having me. Have a good day.